Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Pro to the commentary done by Beyond the Summit. I am Luminous, and I'm joined by Gods as we're casting Zenith versus the Chain Stack. Of course, this is the G1 League qualifier phase number 3. We are in the group stage, and let's quickly jump over to the brackets for you guys to see. Zenith right now has 3 points with their 1 win. Meanwhile, the Chain Stack does not have any points because, well, they lost their first match. I do believe the loss went to IG, so no shame in terms of losing that one. But Zenith had to beat out DK and earn themselves that first and very important win. And of course, Zenith will be facing up against Chain Stack here. And Chain Stack, it's not a must-win situation, but if they don't win this one, they're looking in a fairly dire straits walking into, their last match.
Yeah, I feel it's either this match or DK where you've got to pick up a win in one of the two matches, and as far as who's going to be the easier opponent for them, it's really hard to say. Sure, Zenith beat DK, but I feel Chain Stack match up a lot better against their Southeast Asian counterpart in Zenith than they do against the Chinese teams. Their style of play just they play a similar 4 protect 1, they like to pick their anti-mate, something which just won't work against DK, so if they're going to get a win, I feel like they need to do it here against Zenith.
Yep, of course Gods is a little bit sick, still under the weather, so I will be doing a lot of the casting, and Gods is mostly here to tell jokes and giggles and tell me exactly what I'm missing about these Southeast Asian Dota, as you're quite familiar with it. First thing I noticed is that the 2 stand-ins here is OD and Chibix. Do you know anything about these players and the players that they're replacing?
OD, also known as Overdrive, is sort of one of your Southeast Asian high-tier pub stars. He plays in the Chain Stack, as in not the team itself, but in their pub stacking group. Chibi X33 is a Singaporean player who I believe played in, I want to say Aeon for some time, but he's sort of had his own few mixed teams here and there, but he's I guess another pub star, you could say, although he's sort of played in some semi-pro teams at times.
Yeah, but the important thing to know is that none of these are scrubs. They definitely play, they have their experience in terms of competitive play, and they will be filling here for Chain Stack. Of course, your Keeper of the Light is going to be the first pick for Chain Stack, which is something that we haven't seen too often, at least not in the Asian scene. I know he's quite a hot pickup in the European scene, and we see him quite a bit there, but not so much in these Southeast Asian games, or Chinese games specifically. But Keeper of Light will get the first pick here. Answer back is Rubik and Magnus. And of course, Chain Stack loved your anti-mage, but Keeper of Light not exactly a great combo with the anti-mage, but in fact, he's a great combo with the PL. So Keeper, PL, and a Shadow Demon. So this game could go pretty long. But let's not forget about PL's offensive capabilities, even in the mid-game. If you get enough farm and a quick Diffusal Blade and a Yasha, he could just take the fight to your face and get a lot of kills that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a good way of playing against teams who, on paper, are better than you. It's a very reliable draft. It's a draft where if you execute it to a decent level, you can win games against teams who maybe you shouldn't beat. So I think this is the kind of draft that will actually work quite well for Chain Stack. I like that they do something like this. Zenith have got themselves a number of playmakers. They've got the Rubik, the Magnus. The Rubik being played by Ice, not Ice. The Malaysian Ice the other day was absolutely phenomenal. So he's definitely someone to always look out for on that Rubik. So we'll have to look to see whether he's going to be grabbing that up or whether it's the other support player in X Freedom who'll be playing the Rubik. But right now, Chain Stack, yeah, definitely. The PL Keeper of the Light, a lot of people are probably going to be groaning about this, but I think this is what Chain Stack need to be doing. And it's the style of play which has been working for them. Have that hard carry, have the anti-mage, and here it's the PL.
Yeah, and of course, my eyes is going to be looking at Zenith in terms of how they're going to be surprising us, because Zenith in the past have shown that they are not afraid of trying new things, because, I mean, we've definitely seen our fair share of Marana being played. I think in the GESC Challenger a couple of days ago in the Phase 2 of the G1 League qualifier, if I'm not remembering correctly, or incorrectly. In any case, though, I do believe that Zenith definitely could take this game late because of Gyrocopter, as well as Empower being granted by Magnus. But the cool thing about this lineup is that you don't even know if Gyrocopter is going to be going on the carry mode. In fact, he could go on support, or if he's going to go for semi-carry, he could give you a lot of damage early on as well, and basically try to win the game then, or grab himself a heavy lead before the Phantom Lancer is going to be too big. Tinker's going to get the ban out here, which is no surprise because you're going to be playing against, well, if you're playing Southeast Asian Dota, you got to really either pick up this hero quick or ban it, because chances are there's going to be a great Tinker player on the other side. Meanwhile, Darkseid being banned out here by Zenith. Nothing too surprising out there. So fairly standard draft so far.
Yeah, Tinker was the hero which Zenith used both games against DK to great success in shutting down his well, not so much directly shutting down the anti-mage, but just controlling the flow of the game. getting up a nice sort of early to mid game momentum, and then late game Tinker's fantastic against the hard carry. Not as great against the PL. It's not like the same as an anti-mage where it's a lot easier to side them up. But PL, it's his illusions which could sort of cause the damage. With the anti-mage, the Manta illusions are there, but they're not really your main source of damage and DPS. So it's a hero which I'm sure Zenith would have still been considering regardless of that fact, but something which is not quite as powerful against the PL. But we'll see what they go for instead. They're a team, this is really Zenith's strength in that they can play and pick to so many different strategies. There's no really sort of set core heroes for them. They're such a versatile team.
Yeah, for me right now, Chain Stack, because the trialing has no inherent stun in it, just some decent slow. Of course, Purge, once you get access into that level 6 from Shadow Demon, you get, well, the Purge. Unfortunately is, generally with your off lanes and your solo mids are not exactly stun heavy lineups or stun heavy heroes. You generally want your supports to be your primary stunners because early game they're going to be the one that's going to be doing the roam, and for me that allows Zenith to pick up some of the greedy heroes or allow them to pick up some of the more difficult to kill heroes, and I'm not sure whether the Chain Stack could deal with that. You can see that they're banning out Puck, they're banning out Queen of Pain. These are very difficult to heroes, especially when you're only relying on slows.
Yeah, and heroes sort of targeted mostly towards the mid lane solo, so it looks like they're expecting Mag to most likely be in the off lane, something which Ice would most likely be playing if it is, but it could easily go to the mid lane. They could easily look to grab another off lane or even go for an offensive trial lane of their own, although offensive trial lane versus Shadow Demon Keeper of the Light, sure you want to shut down a PL farm, but I just don't feel you can against Shadow Demon plus Keeper of the Light.
Yeah, I think for Zenith, they're smarter in terms of trading farm here. Basically says, alright PL, you could get as much farm as you can, and then we're going to get our carry as farm as possible. It doesn't sound like a winning proposition, especially when you're trading farm with a PL, but the other situation is, well, we'll try to tackle you tri-lane versus tri-lane, and against a Keeper of Light who has access into his jungle by pulling, and of course spamming that Illuminate to your face, generally you're losing that tri-lane. So I think Zenith will basically dodge that tri-lane. And the question is, will they put Magnus on off lane or will they put Magnus mid? Like you said, it doesn't matter really. They have players to play either lane. Personally though, I think Magnus is a lot better mid, and they should be looking towards another hero to play that off lane. Meanwhile, speaking of off lane here, Clockwork will be the off lane for the Chain Stack. Although with that said, we've definitely seen Kabu play a lot of Clockwork in the mid lane, so it could be a possibility there as well. But yeah, a very, very standard draft so far. And nothing too surprising yet.
I think it was definitely a key point that Chain Stack pick up the Clockwork now, because that's something which Zenith could have well have grabbed for the offlane if they want to run the mag at mid. So they're not only getting it for themselves, but they're going to deny that from Zenith, and that's a hero which Ice has played quite a bit of in the offlane, and it can be annoying for the support Shadow Demon Keeper Life. You're being hit by that Cogs, and you just max the Cogs first. It does so much damage and mana burn. It's such a powerful spell. We've seen it a few times when we've cast together that Cogs is just the most annoying thing in the world. So does get denied from Zenith, and Zenith, they grab themselves a Juggernaut, which is a great hero against Keeper of the Light. The Healing Ward, the Blade Fury, you can either dodge the Illuminate and just heal up your team after you're being spammed down by Illuminates. Yeah,
and again, it's like you said, the Illuminate's nice. It gives them that mid-game pushing power. It gives them that mid-game ganking power as well. And honestly, if you don't have really reliable stuns, how are you going to lock down Juggernaut in the laning stage? Again, I don't imagine the Chain Stack tri-lane would hit against the Zenith tri-lane, but it really gives Zenith the ability to go tri-lane on tri-lane if that's what they want to do so. And suddenly your Magnus being a solo against Clock, well, it's not the worst lane matchup either. But I imagine for now, both Zenith as well as Chain Stack, they're picking their last solo. Templar Assassin still in the pool. Windrunner, decent solo mid, still in the pool as well, although we haven't seen Windrunner from either team for a long time. And what other kind of notable solos are we missing here?
So many been banned out here. Looking around, there's no real obvious go-to ones. It's been a while since we've seen the Windrunner as a solo, but it's definitely it's always something which is a possibility. Templar Assassin's probably the big one, I guess.
Invoker could be there.
Yep. Night Stalker. Okay.
Definitely option as well.
An immediate Tiny pick.
Wow. Okay, so here's the thing for me. Tiny, of course, we all know he does a ton of damage. You throw Empower up on top, he's gonna get an Acceptor. That cleave will be hurting insanely crazy. But Clockwork also kind of annoys Tiny quite a bit.
Support Tiny? Question mark.
I hope not. Because you have Gyrocopter and Rubik, who are just fine supports in their own right. Even if you need to run a Magnus support, you could run a Magnus support. I guess the cool thing you could also be doing here is you give your Magnus a free Blink Dagger early on. If that's what you need, you toss them in and get that RP start going like that. And you could bypass a lot of silences or whatever. But
it is Freedom playing the Tiny, normally the support play for this Zenith team. And it looks like he may be going support. It looks like they may actually do an offensive trial lane.
Yeah,
they could run XY Gyrocopter as a safe lane solo. No. Or maybe 5-man top. We'll have to wait and see. But Ice is heading bottom with Boots as Juggernaut. So this is either a solo off-lane Juggernaut or an offensive trial lane Juggernaut, and then Gyrocopter can solo the safe lane.
No, I think this is going to be a solo Juggernaut, which, I mean, again, against this particular trial lane that lacks any kind of real stuns, I think he should be able to spin away just from everything else. He got pull a single Clarity as well as an Observe Ward, and he will be placing one down here. Ooh, no, placing one over here to block the pull. And meanwhile, though, he is going to be at least seeing Clockwork's going to be coming in. Clockwork most likely going to be the top solo. And of course, Night Stalker is going to be going mid. So both solo mid going for the very, very standard, saving for the quick bottle build. But let's quickly introduce both teams here. We have X Freedom, Freedom is going to be playing on the Tiny. XY going to be playing the Gyrocopter. Ice playing the Rubik as a support. Of course, Magnus being handled mid lane by Yamate. And last but not least, on Ice, he's going to be playing the Juggernaut. Meanwhile, on the Radiant side, we do have Chipix playing on the Night Stalker. Risk is going to be handling the Clockwork. Minerva is going to be playing the Keeper of Light. OD or Overdrive will be playing the Shadow Demon. And of course, Chains, the carry player, playing the Phantom Lancer. For anybody that's joining in, this is a broadcast done by Beyond the Summit. And of course, this is Chainstack versus Zenith. Chainstack already down one match in this particular group stage. So this game is... They gotta win this game. If you lose this game, you're not out of it, but it's gonna be so very difficult to kind of come back from the situation that they're in.
Yeah, if they lose this, maybe they get to a final match against DK where both DK and themselves are both sitting on 0 wins, 2 losses. Because if DK lose to IG, then both teams are sitting on 2 losses, which kind of sucks for them. But then we could see the third place deciding match between those two teams. What we're actually looking at here, though, is Zenith getting off to a nice little pull here. This is what bounty hunters do. Ice has pulled the creep wave just using a Juggernaut in the offlane. Unfortunately,
2 creeps kind of lost their ways on their way back, so Ice is not going to exactly have a quick access to level 2. You can see that he's tanking the creep wave in front of the tower, so basically the creep equilibrium doesn't go under the tower and get killed very quickly. He's going to have safe farm and try to last at those 2 creeps. Meanwhile, here on the top lane, Risk perhaps trying to do something similar. Cogs could actually be used to block the creep wave, but at least he's getting some EXP. As we do see Zenith supports starting to stack, starting to do some pull. And meanwhile, we do have Ice kind of harassing Risk a little bit. Risk trying to go for this particular pull to the left, will not be able to get it off in that particular instance. Meanwhile, back on the bot lane here, Ice gets disrupted, take a little bit of harass to the face, but he shouldn't care too much.
Yeah, he's going to be shrugging most of it off. He's only got the 1 set tangos, but for the time being, things going pretty well for him. The supports haven't dewarded this pull just yet. Overdrive, the Shadow Demon is heading over there, but he's no Sentry Ward on the Keeper of the Light. He's only got the 1 Sentry Ward though, and well, 1 Sentry Ward may not be enough to deward this. This Observer Ward spot sometimes forces 2 sentries to be used.
Yeah, it's definitely not one of the most kind of the common observer or common observer placement here. Of course, the other Sentry Ward being placed over here for the earlier D Ward. Of course, both solo mid getting their early bottle. It's not going to be too many kills happening there. I imagine, Night Stalker, if anybody's dying there, Night Stalker might die, considered that Skewer and RP definitely, you could get some easy kills on top of that. But since they're so tanky, I'm not going to be looking there. Risk should be fine as well because he has Cogs, and the offensive power of this particular lane isn't too strong either. But, he should be okay. My question is, what the hell is this support Tiny about? Because I don't know about this. I'm really curious.
Yeah. We've seen some weird heroes come out of Freedom. He's played support Timbersaw. He played Timbersaw one game that we were casting.
Right.
He's played a really strange array of heroes. We'll see how he does on this support Tiny. I like the Radiant Sentry Ward. That's it can deward near the mid lane, but more importantly, it can see smoke ganks coming. If Rubik and Tiny smoke up, Night Stalker could see it coming.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's so tanky that he's probably going to survive that smoke gang, but it's just an extra layer of insurance. That's going to be very, very good to have. Meanwhile here, a little bit of nice, again, pulling from one camp, going to the next camp, just making sure they basically deny every single creep and make sure that Tiny gets some EXP. Because one thing that's very dependent for a solo mid Tiny or even as a carry Tiny is that you want to be at least level 9 or 8 at the very least 8 to have both your nukes maxed. If you don't, he's really not that powerful as a hero. He's also fairly mana dependent, so getting those extra level is going to be good for his intelligence pool. He needs 240 mana for his entire combo, and Toss does have a fairly low cooldown where you could cast it second time in team fight, and that's 360 mana where Tiny has a very, very low intelligence.
As for bottom lane, Ice is level 4, and he's looking to get really aggressive, especially when he sees Keeper of the Light sitting on 250 HP, and he's got boots while Keeper of the Light doesn't, so he's thinking he can maybe get a kill if he can get himself into a good position here, but even if he doesn't, the fact he's already level 4 is a fantastic start for him at bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Juggernaut there and you go for a spin kill and you don't get it, you're not going to be punished by it at all because there's no stun really to kind of catch you afterwards. Risk going for that rune here. It's going to be spawned on the bot lane, another illusion rune. So let's see if Ice is going to be going for a little bit of kill because he could basically send those illusions in and block tower shots, or he could be just harassing these supports in the jungle. Those illusions, yeah, they'll chase Minerva around for a long, long time. He's going to be going for this solo mid kill. And, well, there's a Skewer to apply that solo spin going in the mid lane here. Shockwave doing a ton of damage here, and Chipwix is going to give that the first blood. So the offlane Juggernaut picking up the FB, he's going to be hitting level 6 really, really quickly. He's going to drop the Healing Ward as well, sharing the wealth with Yamate, and both of them is going to be healing up very, very nicely. So Ice, very, very effective. Offlane Juggernaut.
Oh, top lane. Tiny's coming from behind. He tosses Wrist back into the Gyrocopter. Rocket Barrage is there. Rubik is there as well. And Wrist, this creep wave he does not want to be taking. Rubik picks up the kill at top. And it was, I believe, a rotation around. Tiny came in from behind and tossed Wrist backwards.
Yeah, I mean, that toss range, you cannot underestimate that, the range of that spell, and especially like level 2, level 3 in the game, where the Kuya Wave could actually do a lot of damage, and that's exactly what happened. Of course, Ice giving the kind of friendly telekinesis lift there as well. But my Ice is what Ice is going to be doing once he hits level 6. He could basically solo queue the supports, especially when he has enough mana to do so. I imagine a bottle might get delivered. If not, he's going to upgrade to face boots, and maybe after a quick trip home, well, those supports are definitely dead in lane.
Yeah, he's got level 6 now, he's got 1k gold. He's really got a lot of options here as far as what he wants to do. And Keeper of the Light no longer at bottom lane, and that makes his life even easier. He's just going to try and find and hunt down the Shadow Demon. Have to be careful with this defensive disruption. He goes Arcane Boots, and he's looking for a kill. Nope. He's thinking about a kill, but he decides against it. You
need 310 mana for the entire combo, both spin as well as the Omni Slash afterwards. So he didn't have that mana, and he just basically used a spin for quickly pushing. The cool thing about Arcane Boots and Juggernaut is that once you pick it up, you never really need to worry about mana anymore. A little bit of harass going on the mid lane. Illuminate, oh my god, Yamate was so low. And it looks like the Clockwork Cogs have kind of forced them away. Meanwhile, Clockwork, though, does take up a haste rune. That haste rune is going to put him probably level 4, as he could play very aggressively in terms of getting that EXP. Also, the Arcane Boost is going to be very, very nice in terms of keeping Tiny a little bit more mana up, especially during the engagement. Again, he is so mana dependent.
Yeah, it really is, and we'll see if Tiny maybe gets some of his own regardless now, but he's only sitting on level 3, so as a support Tiny, you got to feel this is a hero who can't really offer a whole lot until he gets those levels. It's hard to get in position for those toss backs. He did get one off when he came in from behind, but that's not something which you can really realistically rely on.
Well, for me, I mean, he may be a support hero, but if you think of a support hero that could set up your Magnus for a reverse polarity, it certainly sounds pretty good, right? You toss your Magnus in, and that's really all the stuff that you really need to do. You follow up with the Avalanche, a couple of right clicks. It's actually fairly decent if you think of it like that. Here comes Ice. He's spinning it off. He's going to go against Overdrive, turns back. Don't want to take too much damage from the crew wave as well as from the heroes. One thing that he also could do in the laning stage is he tosses a Gyrocopter in, and he's in an easy position to drop a Rocket Barrage as well as a call down, and that's a free kill as well. So, I mean, he's a fine initiator even as a support.
Yeah, and as I said, bottom lane, as soon as he takes a bit of damage, he's just using this Healing Ward. These Arcane Boots make it so easy for himself, for him to sustain himself in this lane. He's now got himself up to level 7. He's got Blade Fury maxed out. He's going to be offering a lot of damage. He's got a TP scroll ready for a counter gang if needed, but more importantly, he's just keeping these supports bottom, and PL can't really lane against just the Juggernaut on his own.
He's also picks up a Sage's Mask, which I find a very, very interesting investment here. Sage's Mask upgrades into basically everything. It could be an early Vlads for the team, which is not bad at all. it could be an early Medallion Courage, which is something spicy, especially when you have a ton of right-click damage from things like Flat Cannon, Empower, as well as Tiny. Let's not forget about him as right-clicker, but looks like gonna go on Magnus on the mid lane. He's got to get the skewer off. RP's gonna get dropped. The toss in here, and Chibix gonna take a ton of damage. Here comes the Omni Slash, and it's been 1 kill. Second kill is gonna go against Overdrive. 2 kills instantly. Chibix in a little bit of trouble. He's gonna run away because of the nighttime movement speed. And wow, that gank, they went towards the mid lane. Not only did they not get anything, the good rotation here coming from both the top and bot for Zenith, making them pay. And suddenly the score is 0-4. Goal lead in the favor of 4,000 for Zenith as well. And this game not looking good for the chain stack.
Freedom. Oh man, that is a very unfortunate time to have, like, I guess a DC. Freedom went to pause, but Chibi is right on top of this Tiny at top lane. Tiny was like, oh, I'll leave the room for my teammate with the bottle, which is the Mag, I guess. Mag has an empty bottle. He thought Mag was maybe coming, but now instead, Nightstalker's going to get this rune, and he's going to kill this Tiny, it looks like.
Well, let's see how quickly the team could rotate in. I don't think quick enough, that's the thing.
No.
Yeah.
Level 4 nuke, Tiny with no mana. This is a very, very dead Tiny, it looks like. I guess he goes for the rune first, the Nightstalker.
Was Freedom lagging? Was that the case, or?
I think he got distracted by the disconnection more than anything.
Okay. I mean, I think the best thing that Tiny could do right now is run his hero in some random direction and try to spend most of his gold. Yeah. He has 347 reliable gold, so make sure he spent at least the rest of that one so he doesn't lose anything there. And he's got a lot of time to decide what he wanted to spend it on, whether it's going to be a quick wards for the team or... Because he's losing some of that gold if he doesn't spend on that.
I like this decision from Ice Ice Ice. He's going for an urn.
Ice 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 going for urn. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it does definitely give him a little bit more kind of diving power because of the tank. And, well, Healing Ward plus Arcane Boots, as well as the passive regen coming from Urn of Shadow, as well as the active, helps you kill, help your teammate recover and sustain that push. It's not something that we see from Juggernaut ever, but it's definitely a very interesting utility Juggernaut build. And, I mean, the fact that you have heroes like Magnus and Omni Slash Juggernaut, as well as Tiny on the support, you could get a ton of early game kills, and those urn charges could be flowing in very quickly. So it's an interesting build, but I imagine it'll work. Yeah,
so it gives also, once you get the couple of charges, you can use as extra DPS to help bring down some of these heroes. So I think it is a neat little item. As far as other item progressions for Zenith, where you see a Shadow Blade very, very soon on the Gyrocopter, Mag halfway to a Blink Dagger, and then you've got your two supports who, neither with Arcane Boots just yet, both hovering around 500 to 800 gold.
Ooh, Tiny actually got the regen rune quick, but Chibix was able to pick up that kill, so I don't think Tiny was able to spend any of his gold either, and thus was losing some of that, but no big deal. Not exactly the biggest deal. XY though, like you said, got that Shadow Blade finished soon. And I'm questioning what happens after Shadow Blade being finished. I mean, I think you could just flat out push the mid lane right now, because really, what can the Radiant team do? They could probably spam Illuminate or two, drop a rocket or two as well, but there's a Tiny toss into your RP. I really don't think they could defend against that.
Yeah, and the Shadow Blade allows Gyrocopter to almost try and find and snipe off the Keeper of the Light. The beauty of this chain stack lineup is they always have the defensive disruption, so if someone gets caught out by an Omni Slash or by something like a Gyrocopter with Shadow Blade, they can always try and rely on that defensive disruption to keep them alive.
Keep them alive for a little bit longer until more and more nukes comes in. For any kind of disruption you may have, Zenith's going to have a couple more nukes, and so far those disruptions are seemingly not enough, as the score is only 1-4, and that one kill was a very lucky kill that Chibix picked up in the river. Yep. But the thing is, on the bot lane here, as we do see Ice Ice Ice, perhaps a little bit trouble, he runs out there, but Keeper Light's going to come in as well. He's got to be careful, because if Keeper and Juggernaut sees each other in the river, Keeper's dead. Well, when the spells are on cooldown, so Juggernaut feeling like he owns the lane, because he does. My thing is, what is Chain's doing right now? He's got 54 creep kills. He's going to be going for a Diffusal Blade, which is not bad for some early game aggression, or in this case, you're give him the ability to actually TP in and perhaps pick off a support or two. Double damage gets bought up on the top lane, although I do believe was seen. And I really don't think they could kill Chibix unless they toss the Rubik in and lift him up and then toss him back. So the initiation power is actually pretty impressive on Zenith.
Yeah, they've got a really strong initiative. Chibix needs to start buying some items, I feel, whether he's going to go for just some Shreds, Vanguard, Ogre Club for his BKB. He needs to just keep on tanking up more and more, because that's going to be his job, is to stay alive on the front line. Similar thing to a Risk here, who I imagine we look at something like an Arcane Boot into a mech, but that's going to be a long time coming because he's really far behind as that offlane Clockwork. Compared to this Juggernaut, he is really struggling.
Well, Juggernaut ran in jungle, saw a support, and picked him off. That happened so fast with the Omni Slash that I didn't even catch it. Meanwhile, we do see Clockwork handling the mid lane. He was spotted out by this particular Observer Ward, so he's not going to get us any surprise gank against Yamate. And you were talking about how how the Night Stalker needs to get some HP or get some items. Well, he does. He picks up a Vit Booster, just a value Vit Booster. Not even sure if he's going to upgrade it to a Vanguard. I don't think he needs to, simply because the Ring of Health is not going to be too useful now once he has Bottle going. Double damage in his bottle, but really nowhere to actually get a gank off. The warding is just too good. They do actually scope out Chibix here, so the surprise factor is gone.
It looks like he wants to gank this Gyrocopter because Shadowblade alone is not going to save him. I mean, there's DD Rune on Chibix here. This could be a kill, although there is the backup from Tiny. I guess they can try and turn this around. The silence is too late. One Rocket Barrage is going to be forced Chibix back. He didn't get that silence off fast enough. He's going to try and turn this one around, but
I'm not sure what that was about.
Good.
Well, he has about 30 seconds to think about that mistake because running in against a Tiny like that, even as a support, he's definitely got the nuke damage, and there's a free kill. Yamate takes a whole bunch of harass. Speaking of Yamate, up to that Blink Dagger go very soon. Not that he needs it desperately in this particular game, considering that there is toss, but now it's going to even allow that initiation to be even easier. Blink Skewer is a big thing in terms of setting up these free kills. And of course, when you have the backup nukers from a Rubik as well as Tiny, those free kills will rain down. Juggernaut on the bot lane. This is an off-lane Juggernaut that is building a freaking mech.
Wow, it's pure utility items, I guess.
I mean,
Arcane Boots, heals. He's like, okay, the DPS is there with or without DPS items. Blade Fury is 140 damage a second. Omni Slash is always going to straight up kill supports if they're alone.
Yep. Invis Ring is picked up here by Magnus, that's already teleported on the bot lane. They really want to set up a kill, probably on the Phantom Lancer. Do they have Dust? That's a question here.
Well, if they can just lead with an RP, he should be brought down here. They're maybe going to try and bait this out with one of these illusions, but
they'll quickly find out that
Chains does have his Diffusal now, though.
Yeah, he does, although Juggernaut also picked up a Dust as well. I do believe this particular Observer Ward doing a lot of work, seeing any TP coming in, and you can see the supports are actually playing very defensive, but Juggernaut does not care at all. He's running straight in, checking for some, and looks like there's going to be a Lance on Ice. He's got a spin to dodge that. He does. Looks like we're going to have a disconnect here from Overdrive.
Oh, well, that was timed up well with my disconnect, as I'm reconnecting back in there.
Wow. Quickly look over to the other side of the map so we don't hear this annoying spinning sound from the Juggernaut. But let's quickly evaluate where we are in the game in terms of inventory. Diffusal Blade, like you said, is finished on Chains, and he's going to be using it to the great effects on the bot lane to get a couple kills. Shadow Blade is finished here on Gyrocopter, and of course was able to use that to get a free kill up top against the Tiny. But to me, I feel like if you're going for Gyrocopter or Shadow Blade, you should be playing a lot more aggressively. Whether it's actually going to take your team into a frontal engagement, whether you're pushing towers. I don't think if you're going for Shadow Blade, you should be passively farming, which is what we see him doing right now.
All right.
I think it's... I don't think it's an item which is all that good for group up, though. I think it's good for getting solo kills, like we saw in the Night Stalker, although that was not really by himself. That was more Night Stalker coming to him, presenting him with a kill, but it's a hard hero to sort of just get his Shadow Blade on, then go take 5v5 fights, because you're still really squishy. It gives you some damage, it gives you some mobility and movement around the fight, and oh no, Yamate is going in on the PL at bottom lane.
Well,
that was quick and easy.
Quick and easy indeed. Blink, Skewer backwards, immediate Dust coming out from Ice. And well, those Earn Charges, they're coming. And of course, you have the Radiant, you have the Illuminate, and you will be able to defend this. But again, when your Keeper is dead and your supports are actually doing absolutely nothing. What has Shadow Demon as well as Keeper of Light done this game? I feel like really they had tried to get a couple pulls or getting some decent EXP, but it's not really going to be enough. Spin, Avalanche, there's a defensive disruption, but the Urn's going to be on top. He dies immediately. My goodness, we're going to see a level 11 Juggernaut, and these supports are deader than dead.
Yeah, the toss spin, and these supports just couldn't hold up to it. PL is going to TP back in bottom. Immediate lance onto Ice should be careful. 5 seconds put on that spin, and Diffusal Blade slow is there. But
yeah,
he's going to drop his healing ward, and looks like he's going to heal himself back up and just re-engage.
I mean, you definitely can. I think he wants to look for level 11 first. Meanwhile, back in the mid lane here, XY applying some pressure. He might be a little bit squishy if he's traveling by himself, but when he has the back of his teammates, definitely feeling safe enough to go right in for the pushes on the tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, Zenith here, rotating on the bot lane. Toss is max. Oh, is that the real one? Well, they now know that's not the real thing, and Dust is not available on our support Tiny, so a little bit disappointing. Miss a free kill there. If he actually seen the PL, he probably would combo him down. If not, he would just chase for a couple more right clicks.
Yep, well, with this, it looks like Zenith have really found themselves in a solid lead right now. Looking at gold XP, it's, whoa, about 7.8k on gold, and they're looking to make it even bigger as they're starting to get some towers as well. That's been the big thing here. Not only are they getting this big golden XP lead through their landing stage, they're now transitioning into some towers. The mech is up on Ice, and we mentioned he's not going for damage. Well, he gets the empower from the mech, just level 1 at the moment, but that's something which will give him some even more DPS later on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of compare him to a Windrunner in a sense, Juggernaut's, I mean, pretty good Windrunner in that sense. She doesn't stun people. Cooldown gets dropped on the mid lane. Defends his push fairly easily. Oh, looks like RP's gonna get dropped just on Chibix. If you gotta burst him down. All these stats being dropped on the illusions. It will bounce here on the Shadow Demon, who dies immediately. Chibix trying to get that kill against XY. Not gonna get it. They were so close. He survives with 100 HP, but by the end of the engagement, 3 hero dead on the Radiant side, 0 dead here for Zenith. And I mean, they're in such a commanding position. And Meg doing a big amount of work there as well. I think he pushed tier 2 now.
Yeah, I think you can start pushing tier 2s, or you go for Roshan first if you really want using that healing ward, but things for Chain Stack are looking very, very dire right now, and you've got a PL though, so sitting back, you may have to give up your tier 2s, you may have to give up Roshan, you may fall behind by about 15k gold, but you can still stall, you can still wait it out. We've seen it happen before with these PL drafts where they can just bide their time, and just, if you defend well for your tier 3s, that's the big thing here. Defend your tier 3s and your racks as well, and then you're okay.
Yeah, for me, is how well will PL split push? Because again, like you said, when you're down in a situation like this, you just kind of play very passively and you make sure you farm up. You know that Keeper as well as Clockwork is going to be trying to defend those base towers. They're going to have a very easy time, in fact, defending those base towers. It's how much advantage you could gain for yourself as well for your team during that defending of the pushes. If you could split push up on the top lane, for example, and get a lot of EXP and a lot of gold, then that's pretty good. Unfortunately, he's going for a Bracer build. Clockwork Hook, I think it missed. Meanwhile, Avalanche going on the bot lane. Here's Blink Skewer right on Chibix. Do they want to drop an RP? They don't have it available. Don't think they need it either, though. There's a ton of nuke going on in right now. Do they still have Fable? They have Lift and Fable. Chibix is dead. About 12,000 gold lead at this point here for the Dire. As well as, oh no, that's a 12,000. No, that was a gold lead. And of course, experience lead, 12,000 EXP there as well. I mean, there is PL, but you gotta keep in mind that the Radiant is, the Dire is actually very, very good in terms of late game as well. They have Empower on Gyrocopter, the Blink RP, there's Empower on Tiny if he ever gets his Acceptor. I don't think he'll get it, but if, you know, the game goes very late. Juggernaut, despite having all these utility items, he's actually doing a ton of damage with this Omni Slash as well. So, I mean, I don't see Zenith losing this game, to be honest.
Yeah, both Tiny and Juggernaut, and that's your 3 and 4 position heroes, are going to be scaling well to the late game, even with their item builds. Tiny's gone for a drums now, and just having Craggy Exterior against PL and PL Illusions is going to help a lot. As for Jug, well, he's going to get Empower damage, and that can help bring down PL Illusions pretty fast. He's going for an Aghanim Scepter to boost up his ultimate, and this is just going to be really tough for Chain Stack.
Yeah, personally, I'm not a big fan of Aghanim Scepters, but that's really comparing it to the normal Juggernaut DPS or the semi-carry build. But if you're going for like a very, very utility-based spell like that, you just run in, you drop your mech, you drop your healing ward, you drop your ultimate, and really after that, you just spin in and start tanking up, because you're going to be having, what, 1500 HP with very respectable armor, because there's mech, there's the high base armor. So he's actually a very effective frontline tank, and he could bully supports around pretty nicely.
Well, Zenith decide they've had enough tier 2 towers. They're going to go in for Roshan now. They're going to get themselves an easy free Aegis. Healing Ward is there to keep everyone nice and healthy, and not the fastest Roshan ever, but they'll get it in due time.
Yeah, that's fine. And I imagine Juggernaut's going to pick this one up. Although, actually XY. No, XY will. XY, despite having a Shadow Blade, pretty close to death in all these team fight going on, but now with BKB and Shadow Blade and Aegis Immortal, doesn't feel like he's going to be going down at all. And I do believe Dire, even without the carry up on top lane, they could just keep on pushing right now because of Blink Skewer picking up solo kills, or you toss for an RP, that's definitely a possibility as well. And then you clean up with Omni Slash. So I think right now Zenith is having too much option, and meanwhile Chain Stack, they're kind of confined to their in front of their tier 2 and tier 3 towers. And if that's going to be the case, you're really not going to get too much farm. Yeah,
it seems to be only that PL getting farm with the split push. Maybe Keeper of the Light getting some farm with his constant Illuminate spam to defend these lanes, but all in all, these Radiant heroes are just not getting farm, not getting levels, and someone like Clockwork, who's still only just level 8, not having those extra points in rockets as well as cogs. You want to have your maxed out cogs to defend your base with. It suddenly gets a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, cogs is going to be very, very nice, but he's got to put points into his other spells, like with the Rocket Max at this moment. Maybe even going back a little bit to Battery Assault, but he has to level up the cog. Avalanche is going to slow down here. Blink Skewer, they're going to find only one, but that one is dead immediately. Purge being used on Yamate, so they're down there as spell as well. Is Cog being stolen, imagine? Yes, Cog being stolen. So it feels like Zenith is rolling all over Chainstack right now, and Chainstack has some really good game on the phase 3 of the G1 League qualifier, but ever since moving to the phase 2 where they had to play some of the best teams in the world, they're not really showing the same creativity, they're not showing the same draft, it feels like, and those drafts that worked before, well, it's not working now.
Yeah, they are playing with a couple standards to give them some credit, but right now they're just being outclassed by some world-class teams. You take a look at Zenith, IG, a team who won TI2, DK who finished 4th, Zenith who finished tied 5th. This is a scary, scary group that they found themselves in. So it's no real surprise if they do end up going 0-3 and getting sort of 2-0 stopped by every single team, but it just doesn't seem like they're the same team anymore.
Yeah. Back in the mid lane here, Zenith traps Chippix inside with himself, almost dies to pay for that. Juggernaut as well as team comes in, bails him out, Omni Slash being used, and speaking of Omni Slash, that Acceptor is almost done, and we're going to see some really, really long Omni Slashes, getting like 10, 12 extra, or 10, 12 slashes total. It's actually pretty nice to watch. Again, not exactly the most standard or good item for Juggernaut.
Yeah, it's a fun little item. He's going to pop the mech at the mid lane, help bring down this tier 2 town. With melee racks at the top already taken, Zenith are just looking to seal the deal, it looks like. They're going to go down the mid lane, and if they get another set of racks anytime soon, I feel that there's just nothing Chainstack can do to stay in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they still have the RP available. They could back off and get the Roshan if that's really what they want. Seems like they're heading that way, or making sure that there's not too much split pushing. Ping going out on the bot tier 1 tower. They'll be defending that one there. So yeah, Zenith in such a huge lead that it's almost even pointless to look at these charts. 28,000 gold lead, about 15,000 experience lead. Item-wise, quickly check it out here. That value Vit Booster now has an Urn on top of it. Shadow Demon has nothing, Keeper has nothing, Clock has nothing, and Chase, well, he's got drums now, but that's not really anything too spectacular either.
No, it's really not, and the Radiant team, it just feels like they're just gonna be lacking as far as farm goes, as item goes. For PL, he needs to get a heart, he needs to get his level 2 diffusal up, and these items just aren't there. Zenith have got their second, third big item on most of their heroes. If their supports are starting to look at their next items, you look at Tiny, who's got his point boosters leading towards a Aghanim Scepter of his own. You've got 4 stuff on the Rubik. All their heroes have their core items, their luxury items coming soon as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're up to 6 tower, or 7 tower now as the base tower is done, when you're up 7 towers to nothing, well, game is pretty hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that said, we'll see a tier 3 push coming from the bottom lane. They decided, I think, pushing in the mid lane is always going to be the harder lane to push, whether it's a tier 1 or a tier 3. Pushing these side lanes is just slightly more natural and easy to do, and they're going to go high ground now.
Yeah, XY is going to tank that tower because he doesn't really care. He has the BKB and Mages. Looks like we have Yamate trying to get that Blink RP up. Actually, Aegis got used kind of... I'm a little bit speechless with the Aegis use. Maybe it was timing out quickly.
No,
it wasn't.
About a minute and a half left still.
Okay, so it just was a little bit of misposition here as we do see Freedom trying to walk in, get a toss back. If they don't get a toss back, not end of life here as well. There's tossing back in here. Omni Slash gets immediate kill. That Keeper of Light, I feel bad for him.
Easy little pick off, and then right onto the Raxes. You'd be like going to buy back for this, and PL needs to get in there, start spamming these lances, spamming, getting an illusion army up. He's gone for a level 2 diffusal, which will help him out a bit, but oh, RP catches too, and it looks like this could be the end. Night Stalker gets brought down. Wrist was disrupted up to buy him some time, but it's not. Actually, it's going to keep him alive just a bit longer, and XY does finally bring him down. Just PL left standing, but it's GG already.
The score is 1-19. That's why I explained such a go and experience lead. I feel like it's really that long lane Juggernaut that opened the entire map up. He got the first blood on mid lane and was able to really hit that level 6 instantly. Got a couple kills afterwards because of his ultimate and was always there. His build is, again, not something standard, but mech into Urn, into Acceptor, something very, very different.
Yeah, definitely. It was a cool way to see Jug get played, which was sort of what I take from this game. It's a completely different, unconventional Jug build. From the very start, he went boots first. He pulled the creep wave from behind, like we see bounty hunters do, and the boots is what what allowed him to do that. He doesn't have to be afraid of the support. And Shadow Demon, Keeper of the Light, not the best supports for stopping you doing that. Keeper of the Light especially. Sure, you can chuck an Illuminate, but when you have a Shadow Demon, which is just a setup, you're not really setting up for a whole lot, because PL can't really offer much either. If there's an Illuminate coming in, he can spin to dodge it. So it was really, I think, well thought out by Zenith to run that Juggernaut as a solo offlane with boots and use that creep ball.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. A little bit of token split, ancient farming in the jungle here with flat cannons and cleaves and all that stuff. But looks like Zenith looking to win this game, although the drone's gonna get killed very soon.
Yeah,
the drone's gonna explode very soon. Is what I'm trying to say. Or it should explode.
Well, we'll see if Chainstack can bounce back in Game 2. It was not the best showing in Game 1. They said they are playing with 2 stand-ins, so unfortunately some of their players have some real-life commitments, such as national service, but we'll see if they can bounce back. Zenith is not going to be an easy team to do that against, unfortunately.
I mean, Zenith, again, like you said, superstar team. They have some of the best players in the entire C scene, and it's tough to actually win games against them like that.
Yeah, they are super stacked roster now. Bringing in Yamate, and then you've got Ice, who's one of those sort of top supports in the Southeast Asian scene. It's just really difficult to take down a team like this, and especially when they're training non-stop. They've been training against top Chinese teams all the time. They are really sort of in a zone right now as far as playing Dota 2. They're a team sort of known for occasionally just being a bit lazy with their training and other stuff, but right now they are just playing some really hardcore Dota and playing fantastic. They look like a team who could potentially just contest with the top Chinese team. Oh, they already did with DK. The question is, can they do it with IG? Because that's a whole nother story, but it feels like they can.
It feels like they can as well. I'm so dying to look for that match. Even Tiny finished the game with a Divine Rapier. But that's game number 1 in the books here. Zenith takes it convincingly. If the Fountain's is doubling your score at the end of the game, something is really wrong. Chainstack loses this one. They will be looking into game 2. And of course, we'll be broadcasting that on Beyond the Summit as well. Don't go anywhere, guys. Game 2 coming up very soon.